Iran has just attacked Israel. We're seeing massive missile launches towards them. This is crazy. It's really unprecedented, something never before seen on this level. This fits in huge on a massive level with Bible prophecy. We're going to look into the prophecies because people need to understand how it's a massive event taking place. So this is really wild to see. We're going to get into it. I'll play some of this footage of the attack on here while I read some of the prophecies that Jesus told us about, that Revelation told us about, that Ezekiel, literally from Old Testament to New Testament, will talk about how, everything going on in Israel isn't great. Just because God has a focus on Israel in the end times doesn't mean that everything Israel does is great. I've been one to clearly stand up against the things that I don't agree with Israel, such as the Talmud. I mean, it's a terrible book. Every single one of them should disappear. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't still have verses that say he loves the stone of Israel. He loves the gates of Israel. Jesus is coming back at the Mount of Olives in Israel. It's endless. It's the entire focus of the Bible really points towards that. Jesus came for the lost sheep of Israel. They rejected him. That's how we were grafted in. I mean, it really all fits together. It's amazing to see. Jesus is the King. He's the Messiah of the world. We will pray that Israel and those who are living there will come to this understanding, because it's the most important thing in regards to it all. So yeah, going to go live on this subject here for a bit. God bless you guys. What's up, Felicia? Seeing you all in the chat. Yes, praying everybody stays safe. Orangutans, God bless all you guys. Let's make sure that we stay in prayer for the people of Israel and all the people of the world. God doesn't love wars and missiles flying and all of this. Jesus knows the heart of man. God knew that this would happen, and that's why in Luke 21 as well as Matthew 24, Jesus said, armies will gather around and surround Jerusalem in the last days. I mean, it's one of the most clear verse. Matthew 24, the Great Tribulation. When you see these things take place, those in Judea flee to the mountains, showing exactly that in this heap. What are we seeing? This is the building of these things taking place. Jesus said this would happen, and that's why we're seeing it start to take place. Of course, we know the prophecies. The Antichrist will come, and he will set up a peace deal in the Middle East. Why will we need peace in the Middle East? Because rockets are flying and destroying nations. It's incredible to see. It's wild to see. Again, anybody tuning in, let's not forget to pray. I'll pray at the end of this stream for the people in Israel, for the people in Iran. Something amazing to mention is that Iran is actually having a massive revival right now. There's reports that 95% of people in Iran do not support the Islamic government that is in a position of power there. Massive revival. I think it was 50,000 mosques in Iran have closed down recently. Many people in Iran are seeing dreams and visions of the one in the white robe, Jesus coming back on the cloud. Well, Jesus in his white robe, and that's how he comes back, in his white robe. And they're seeing dreams and visions of him. Many people, one of the fastest growing churches, Christian churches in the world right now is Iran. And so we want to pray for these people, that Iran gets saved. We want to pray that Jerusalem and the Jewish people will finally accept Jesus the Messiah. Prophecy tells us that many of them will not, until the 144,000 from the tribes of Israel are going around and spreading the truth in the last days. This is how you can know. God works in a full picture way. They rejected. The third temple's built. The Antichrist declares to be God. Very potentially a Jewish heritage Antichrist is who he will be. And then they'll finally realize, okay, this is not God. This is just a man. He's evil. And then they look on the one whom they pierced, Jesus Christ, and accept him as the Messiah, Jesus with the 144,000. Again, people say that God doesn't care about Jerusalem. Then why, when he comes back, guess what he does? He sets up a new Jerusalem. It's building right now. It's shocking to see. I mean, next to living in like the time of Moses or living in the time of Jesus, we're living in probably the most prophetic time in the history of the entire world. It's incredible to see. Again, I just want to mention a few verses because people constantly push back on me about God actually caring about Israel. And he does. Many verses. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. And it's really on and on. But why do you think Jesus comes back with the fierceness of the wrath of the winepress of God to them? Because they rejected the one whom they pierced. Jesus even said to them how many times that he was with them. How much I long to gather you together as a hen gathers her chicks, but you were unwilling. That's the heart of God, that they would turn back to us. Very clearly told to us in the book of Romans. Mainly Romans 11 is a great chapter for that, saying that for the cause of the gospel, the Jewish people are our enemies because they reject Jesus. They reject the gospel. They were the modern day Pharisees not believing the truth of Jesus. But then the next verse, well, the same verse, the next passage, before the fact of being grafted in, we're very happily grafted in, and we have love for them for this reason, because they were the original olive tree. We as Gentiles are grafted in. So how much more will things prosper and things be great when they finally accept Jesus Christ as the Messiah? We have to keep that in our hearts and in our minds as we head into the times that we're heading into. Of course, again, the unrest will show that the Antichrist will be set up. It sets the stage for the third temple. Some people think that it's the body. To me, that does not make sense when you look at the rest of the prophecies saying that the Antichrist will stand in the temple. And not only that, if the Jewish people were doing nothing to move forward with the third temple, then maybe that could be the case. But what would be so bad? What we're watching here is rockets flying from Iran to Israel. The United States has intercepted, along with Israel and their Iron Dome and their David Sling weapon system, have intercepted over 200 missiles. And it's an unprecedented attack. I believe Iran hasn't attacked Israel in a very long time. Something along those lines. I don't want to say the exact number because I'm not totally sure, but it's completely unprecedented that Iran is doing this. Israel moving into Lebanon, and it's really by the Bible coming to light before our eyes. I mean, if you have anybody out there who doesn't believe the Bible and you want them to, show them the passages. Show them the passages that these all things are written beforehand, that they will come to pass, and they're literally happening now. You know, they want to take Israel, they want to take the land. You know, they say that saying from the river to the sea, it'll be Palestine, it'll be free or whatever. That saying from the river to the sea is literally the covenant of God giving the land. If you look at the land covenant that God gave to Abraham, it's way bigger than what it is now. If Israel actually took the land that God had given to them, it would be way more. Not to mention that Jordan already has so much land, Palestine has so much land, so what are they trying to do? They don't want anything. They were even offered the West Bank area in a UN sanction, and they denied it. They want all of Israel. Their goal is to destroy Israel. Why is that? Because the Bible prophesies it. God knew that this would happen. It's the epicenter of the world. Everything has taken place here. I mean, even the Garden of Eden was somewhere around here, because we know the Euphrates River ran out or through the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden here. Noah here, the flood here. Them here, they landed here. The Nephilim and the giants, they were here. Everything has happened in this region of the world. Then God tells us, don't believe any gospels that are given to you by angels, because it's a false gospel. It's a demonic gospel. Why is that? Because in that same region, one of the greatest attacks on Jesus is the truth. He's the Messiah. I pray that the Jewish people, their eyes will be opened. We want revival to happen in Israel. We want revival to happen in Iran. There's many times in the Bible when God knew that Israel would go a certain way, or he knew things would happen in a certain way, but he still gave them the opportunity to follow him and go for the truth. This is what I think Jesus is saying when he said, as I desired the hens to come, as a hen gathers her chicks, I desired to gather you. This is something that I think God has done in the past, that he desires them to come almost to the point where if they actually obeyed, and if they actually did and followed God the way that he wanted them to follow him, he would have came and said all things right then. But they were unwilling. But we were unwilling, which is why God knew and why Jesus came. That may even be why Jesus said when praying in the garden, if there's any way this cup can pass from me, if there's any way for people to realize that they shouldn't sin and live for me, Father, then have the cup pass. But then Jesus knew, sadly, the heart of man, that wouldn't happen. And this is why things had to play out the way that it will. But again, the point of all of that is that we should desire for revival to happen. Looking at this, it looks like things are coming very fast. It looks like prophecy is happening very fast. No one knows the day or the hour. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow at the Feast of Trumpets. But we can look at these things and make assumptions and pray and hope. God tells us to have that, but we don't know. But again, what it comes back to is that we should hope for Israel to be revived and for there to be a massive movement of people coming to the truth of Jesus in Israel. It's happening in Iran. 50,000 mosques closed in Iran because people are seeing dreams and visions of Jesus Christ. The fastest growing church, one of them in the world, in Iran. So we should pray that this somehow good comes from it. All things work for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes. All these people in Iran who are coming to every single one, besides maybe two that I can think of that is just a common sense prophecy. Like one is there'll be big cities in the end times. Yeah, that's a pretty easy thing for Muhammad to just think up. Every other one, Euphrates drying up, many other ones were first written in the Bible. The Bible is the truth. The Bible's happening before our eyes. Jesus Christ is the only way to God the Father. He's the only way to heaven. It's a loving thing because every other religion, you have to work your way up. If you could go other ways, you'd have to be Buddhist, you'd have to do this, you'd have to go to prayer meetings and blah, 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 blah. You don't have to do that because Jesus Christ took it all on for us. He did it himself at the cross. And this is how we find salvation through him and him alone. It's the greatest love story of all. And Jesus is King. Jesus is Lord. Let's be sure to pray for Iran and for Israel because we desire the truth to come to all the world. Thank you guys for stopping in. I see a lot of people stopped in. I didn't really focus on the chat because I wanted to stay focused on these prophecies here. But again, the prophecies happening, point people to it. Jesus is the truth. He's the only way. It's the best way because through him, we can just serve him. And when you follow Jesus, you want to serve him. You want to go to the prayer meetings. You want to go to church. You want to help the needy. It's a love thing. It's like you grow into what you want because God doesn't want to force us to do anything. He's loving. He's amazing. The Bible is true. The Bible is real. We're seeing it happen right now before our eyes. Thank you guys for stopping in. I hope and pray that you have a good day. And may Jesus Christ and his truth spread to Iran, Israel, and all the world, America in the next election, and all the world. Pray this